Well, it's the if project again. No idea what part this, but I'll write it in the description. And things as usual. Oh, I just noticed the receipt up there. What's that for? Things as usual, going on at a pace. The clock's still working. Because that was stuck on the same time for ages. Just doing the wiring. I think yesterday I was baffled by a couple of wires here, which according to the wiring diagram, these two here are the generator wires, white and green and yellow. So if you look at the wiring diagram, white and green, yellow, they should go straight from the alternator to the rectifier. So I've no idea what those are doing, because I've got the alternator, these are the alternator wires, these are the ones that come from the alternator here. They come directly from the alternator, there's no ifs, ands or buts about that. And they will be hooked up to... Oh, I've just realised what the problem is. I've already hooked up the white and green and the green and yellow. I don't know if you can see that on the... So this is the other end. But it's so weird because it goes back into the loom that way. But it must loop around and come down there. Well, I'm glad I've solved that, so that's where those go then. That's easy. That's a ground wire. I'm going to tuck it away somewhere else. I'm just in the middle of doing the stop lights. The red wire is the stop light and the black wire is the tail light, and that's a ground which goes onto the back of the rectifier there. So that's easy. Basically brown is the lights, brown and green. This brown and green here, that's for the tail light. Anyway, it's brown and green. Basically, it's the running lights. So it's the speedo lights, running lights, tail light. That white wire there is the power to the stop lights. Basically, the white wire is the power to anything that needs power. So actually, that's fairly straightforward. I've pretty much done the front here. I never know which way around they are, but blue and red and blue and white are the main beam and dip. And I think that, I don't know why that's got the pilot light hooked into the either main beam or dip light. That doesn't make sense. So that'll have to go on the brown and white, because that's in the wrong spot there. That's how I got it. So as you can see there, look, it's actually hooked up incorrectly. So it'll go into this one instead. So brown and green. Sorry, not brown and white. Brown and green. So because this is the running light, side light, whatever they call it. That the moment the way that's going to work is just that'll only come on when either the dip or the main's selected. And I think that white, as far as I remember, blue and white is actually the main beam and blue and red is the dip beam. But I could be wrong. Oh, actually that's right, because that blue and white will be the one that goes up to the indicator light to tell you that's on main beam. So that is main beam. Blue and white's main beam, blue and red is dip, and blue of course is the feed from the dimmer switch. So the dimmer switch, so you've basically got a white wire that hooks up into the dimmer switch. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Into the dimmer switch, that's power. So that'll come probably from the headlight switch, which it does. So the headlight switch goes into the loom, into the dimmer switch, and the dimmer switch it selects either or for main or dip on blue and red and blue and white. So actually the wiring is coming on pretty well. I disconnected the horn wires because I was doing a little bit of transferring, as you can see in there. So I'll reconnect those. I also had to put in my oil light. So as you can see down there, look. This is probably going to be upside down. So I'm going to put an oil light on there, and I have two of them here. So one's going to be for the main beam, and one's going to be for the oil light. And it looks like, I can't tell, but actually you know what, I can probably use a flashlight to tell which colour is which on there. Because one is definitely red. There we go. Oh yes, that's red. That's red, and that one should be green or blue. Oh my god, I can't tell what that is. I think that's possibly going to be... That's so weird. Let's see if I can get anything out of this at all. It's actually red as well, but it's so dim you can hardly see it, so I'm going to bin that. So what I've got here, I have got a couple of LED lights. And I can't remember what colour those are. I think they're blue, which would be perfect for main beam. Although because they're LED lights, I'd like to have used those for oil lights, but actually no, they probably won't be bright enough. These aren't that old, so I shall try one out in a minute and see. Oh, it's a tri-state. Well, that's interesting. So that means it's two colours. Oh, I'll have to try these out. But anyway, that's going to become one of them, so I'm probably going to drill a hole in the top of this and mount it in there somehow, or just mount it with washers, I don't know, I'll figure something out. So yeah, the wiring actually is coming on pretty easily, so yeah. So as I say, that white wire there, that's a power wire, so when the ignition's on, that basically powers anything that needs to be powered. So the ignition circuit, the coils down there, they're powered by a white wire. I don't know if you can see them hiding down there. Brown and green, of course, that's the tail light. So white wire is the one that goes to the stoplight circuit, which is well, the other end of this. This will be this. It actually is the right colour. I just happened to pick this up, but it's the right colour. So that's going to be the stoplight circuit, and then which is actually I've loosely connected to there, and then that's going to be the tail light, which is brown and green. So the wiring, as I say, on these things is dead simple. I was a bit flummoxed by this because I couldn't understand why her generator was going into the loom, and then I realised that I'd already connected the other end to the rectifier. So these hook up to these, which have come directly from the generator. It's a bit messy. What I might do at some point is, when everything's working, is I'm going to take the cover off, pop the stator off, and solder on a pair of new wires, or clip on a new pair of wires that go all the way through, because these are attached to what was left of the original wires, and I cut them back and strip them back. So there's going to be two joins, which I'm not wild about. I like to have as few joins as possible. So anyway, yeah, it's coming along, and it's I mean the tank and side panels are done. It's not the best job in the world, but it's not bad. I can live with that. Look, oh, I'm just kicking stuff around. A bit tidier in here. I had a little bit of a tidy up today, a little bit of a blitz. And I've got the carburetors on. That slide's a little bit sticky on that side, but actually I think these cables are too short. I might have to cut the cables back a little bit. The choke cable wouldn't actually go around the headstock, so I've had to run the choke cable down here, which I don't like. I hate the big bends in cables, it's horrible, so that I'm going to replace that at some point. Front brake cable, I'm going to order one because this is done. The clutch cable seems to be right. It kicks over, it's got good compression. I found an original spark plug wrench in the original toolkit. This pop from the exhaust there, the compression's good, so I think she's going to run well. So yeah, we're steaming along. Oh, it's full of oil. I actually stole this from my friend Rob for his, but don't tell him. I'm just going to have to go and get a replacement. It's just that it was here, so I used it. It's called Duckham's 2050. No, Halford's 2050, which is probably the same stuff. It's green. And yeah, I know there's a lot of people that don't like multi-grades on all British bikes, but the factory specified multi-grade for this one. So if the factory specifies it, that's what I'm going with. People get very hot under the collar about oil. They all think they have the answer. My answer is clean oil. It doesn't matter what you use as long as it's clean and the viscosity is roughly right. And that's what I've been doing with my old T140, which, as I say, has got close on 98,000 miles in it now. And I've used multigrades the whole time I've had it, and I've put over 50,000 miles on that bike. So that speaks for itself, I think. You know, the thing about multigrades is that this is what people don't realise is it says 2050, which means that this behaves like a 50 weight at high temperatures. So it has the same viscosity as a 50 weight oil at high temperatures, but it has the same viscosity as a 20 weight at low temperatures, which means it's much thinner. So that's good, because if you use a straight 50 weight, it'll be like corn syrup. You know, it'll make things very difficult to, circulate through a coal engine on a cold day. So that's why I won't use it. If I had an old M20 or something, I don't know. I mean, British bikes used the stuff that was around at the time, and oil technology wasn't the same then as it is now. I mean, you wouldn't deliberately go out and buy ancient old, I don't know what they are, Dunlop Avon Skidmaster tyres. Well, people do. Not on the old compound, because technology's come on a long way. It's so much better now. So before I whistle on much further, I think the next bit of filming is when I've actually got this beastie together. I've got a battery here. What I tend to do when I'm doing the wiring is I use the battery just to power bits of circuits to make sure everything's working alright. But it's pretty self-evident. As I say, the wiring on these things is ridiculously simple. There's really not much to it. And apart from the fact they write things like N for brown. No, N. What was N again? Yeah, N's brown, and B is black. So like brown and black there, for example. If you could decipher the coding, because they've got there's a little translation chart, that thing there. N and G, that's brown and green. R and B is red and black. U and R, that's an interesting one. What's U and R? U is blue. Oh, that's a good choice. So that's blue and red. Oh, of course, that's the headlamp circuit. Yeah, blue and red. Yeah, main beam is blue and white, as you can see on there. U and W. So yeah, I don't know why people get so scared about wiring. I love it. I mean, I rewire all sorts of machines, and it's actually, I find it interesting actually. I mean, and this, as I say, is so straightforward. It's not true. It's like wiring a lawnmower. There's nothing to it. So really, it's just a matter of just being logical. It's like a flashlight. If you have two wires to a battery via a switch to a light bulb, it'll light up. It's as simple as that. So you just have to follow the circuit. The Zenodide, because it's positive ground, it's reverse bias, which means it's facing towards positive rather than facing the other way. And how a Zenodide works is it's like a check valve. So you imagine putting a valve in a water line that lets water go through one way but not the other. I think they call those non-return valves in this part of the world, but in North America they're check valves. So what the Zenodide does is it allows current to flow through that way. But of course it won't, because it's reversed. It's turned around in reverse, because that's negative and that's positive. And then anything above I think it's 12.8 volts, 13.2 volts, something like that, it starts to break down. In other words, it's like a check valve that starts to leak at high pressure. So this starts to break down, and it basically allows a controlled short circuit. So you actually limit the voltage and you limit the current. Voltage is potential, current is the flow. So if you limit the voltage, if you limit it to 13.2 volts, instead of 18 or whatever it is you can produce from these alternators, then obviously you'll get far less current flow, so you won't damage lights, you won't blow light bulbs and cook the battery and stuff like that. My brother had a bike that it would regularly overheat the coils, partly because they were contained in the toolbox, and partly because it wasn't regulated. And the battery on his bike used to burn dry all the time. So yeah, you do need it. You need some form of regulation. I did break mine. I think I told you I broke the stud off, which is really annoying. When I was undoing it, oddly enough, not when I was doing it up, I was trying to get it off and it broke. So I've got one in Canada, which my son's going to send me. Failing that, I think there's somebody on the forum, the A65 forum, who's got one that I can have, and they're expensive. Like I think they're $50–$60 now, 30–40 quid, something like that. Which for a simple diode is ridiculous. It's something they knocked out probably for 2 pennies a piece. And I remember back even in the 80s, you could buy them for £2 or £3. They weren't expensive, but now they've got stupid. And as I say, it's such a simple device. There's nothing in it really. It's just a piece of well, I don't know if they use germanium or silicone, but basically it's just a piece of rock that's been treated to allow current to pass one way, not the other, or to break down, and that's it. It's a simple semiconductor. So I don't understand why they're so. I guess because they're pretty much impossible to get hold of now. The regulator that you can buy for old British bikes is a thing with a heatsink. I think it also incorporates the rectifier. And see with the rectifier, what you've got basically is you've got. That's what I'm doing this. You've got the alternator produces an alternating current. In other words, it's a current. It's a voltage that alternates 360 degrees. So it forward biases, goes back down to 0 volts, and goes negative. So it goes from positive 18 to negative 18 volts, or whatever the alternator will kick out. And there's two wires which are in antiphase. So that means that when that one's going positive, this one's going negative. And what they do is they feed into the rectifier, and as you can see, those diodes are forward biased. So any positive cycle will go that way. Then any negative cycle won't go anywhere, just because that will stop it. So that becomes the negative, and that becomes the positive. Piece of cake, really. Yeah, it's fun. Anyway, thanks for watching again. Slightly shorter video today. I've spared you all. Yeah, camera in the cupboard. I might take it in. Oh, I can see more dirt on the lens. How extraordinary! This must be this overspray. Oh, I've got some woodworm destroyer too. I've just noticed. Oh, jolly good. I need some of that. Anyway, thanks again.